Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Steady Focused Live. That's right. This is our very first live episode, broadcasting, bringing it straight to you guys. Corona hit us all straight in the face, and we're all dealing with it in many, many different ways. But honestly, this is a conversation situation that I wanted to get going for a long time. I'm your host. I'm your number one, Mr. SimeonHendrix. And in this episode, we're going to be bringing in a great friend of mine. His name is Mr. Ryan Huff. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. So if you guys are tuning in live with us, bear with us. This is our first time we've been doing this, so you can come along on the experience with us and enjoy this. So Ryan Huff, he and I go way back into high school days. I know this man as, if I could pick a couple of words, I would probably pick passionate and motivated, intense. A lot of the same characteristics that you would potentially say of me, would say of my friend Ryan. So I'm really excited to bring him on the show. I can confirm, Kevin, I see you, Brittany, I see you guys commenting. So comment with us, share with us. It's an open dialogue. But yeah, a lot of topics we're going to touch on. But I would say the meat of this sandwich is going to be addiction, recovery, moving forward, and loving ourselves. So without any further ado, please help me give a huge, steady, focused welcome to my friend, Mr. Ryan Huff. What's up, dude?
What's up, Sam?
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, nothing. Hey, I think your the video is kind of like delaying a little bit.
Is it delaying? Okay.
No, right, now it's good. Now
it's good.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's going all right?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So bear with us, everybody. I see we got Paul, we got Kevin, we got Brittany. Comment because we can see it, and just bear with us as we go along through this journey. Ryan, so man, you were one of the major influences on me to get my butt in gear and get back to doing episodes. And I wanted to talk with you for so long, and I really appreciate it. How are you doing tonight, dude?
I'm good, man. I'm actually, this weather actually allows me a couple of days off, so I'm not complaining. I mean, I did work some today, but it is kind of nice to know that I got a little bit of downtime, and which means I get to spend more time with my family and all that. But other than that, dude, I'm staying warm.
Yeah. So just recently, you made the transition into kind of being your own, not kind of 100% being your own boss, calling your own shots, full on into entrepreneurship. How's that transition been?
It's actually not been as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Because my whole life, I started working when I was, officially working, I guess, when I was about 15, washing dishes down at the Golden Chick there in Iowa Park. And so I've kind of had that mentality of, Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. to, quitting time or whatever, that I had to be there. And that's, and so now I guess what I've had to adapt to is I'm a very, I don't know if a ritual, I'm a very schedule oriented person. So, if I get home at 5 o'clock from doing something and I'm in the middle of watching a football game or relaxing and I get a phone call, well, that's part of, that I've had to kind of adjust to, with being my own boss, is just basically being ready all the time.
Yeah.
So
versus a little bit different than clock in, clock out. It's kind of on more.
Exactly.
Guess. Yeah. Man.
Yeah. And it's, and doing that though, it definitely far outweighs, that having that mentality of going to, because whenever I left my job, I was, it was something I'd done for almost 13 years, and I was just completely burnt out, and waking up every morning was a chore. And now that I know that, the harder that I work, or the more motivated I am to go after, a job or anything like that, that I will see, I will see some rewards from that. So, I mean, I would suggest everybody be your own boss.
Wow. Well, dude, I know it takes a lot of courage, like you said. And then once you got there, it's like, oh, I can do this. I can handle this. And man, isn't that the way it goes? Right? In life, so many times we think, I can't do that. I could never do that. I could never be that. And then when we take that step of faith, it's like, no, I got what it takes. I
Hmm.
can do this.
Yeah, that's
Man,
exactly
yeah, go for it.
that's exactly right. I've always been one of those people that I wanted to be the best of whatever it was I was doing, like from the get go. Um, and I guess I would call myself a procrastinating perfectionist. Like I wouldn't start something unless I knew what the end result was going to be. But like you said, it was a leap of faith. It was like, well, when the day I left my job, I still remember it pretty vividly. And like the weight that went off my shoulders was like, okay, now the ball's in your court to make it happen.
Yeah.
And now let's see what you can do. And it wasn't faith. That is a big thing that what would say is what it takes to make that transition from a 9 to 5 to being your own, starting your own business or whatever it is.
Man, I kind of want to, I've got a lot of things I want to talk about that I would almost consider like, I don't know, fluff. So let's just jump straight into it. You and I have both been passionate and we've both talked with each other a lot about addiction and recovery. Man, I'm pretty sure you know, but I grew up in the NA program. My dad was part of that, and it was a huge savior in our lives. And then growing up as I have into an adulthood, and I've had my struggle with food and just different things that have mentalities and things that have held me back. Tell us a little bit of your story with addiction.
All right. Well, I'm going to start this off with kind of like a little disclaimer of when I don't mix. You'll hear me reference God a lot, but when I'm saying that, it's more of in a spiritual reference. It's not in a religious tone. I mean, I'm a religious person, but for me, uh, mixing religion and my spirituality or my recovery is not something that I've found that works for me. So whenever, because I know a lot of people, whenever if they've ever tried recovery or a 12-step program, they hear the word God and they're immediately shut off. And so when I say the word God, I'm not talking about anything religious or anything like that. It's I know it's kind of the concept of a higher power, something out there that's bigger than I am or bigger than you or anything like that. But no, man. I mean, I was raised in a pretty normal, I guess you would say a normal home. I mean, there was no alcohol in our house. Neither of my parents drank. They were both very involved in church. Um, and I was up until I was about 16. Whenever my parents divorced, I was almost kind of forced to be at church every time the doors were open. So, um, but I think I was probably 13 or 14. I think the first time that I got drunk. Um, and then I mean anybody from that's our age in Iowa Park knows whenever I was my freshman year I'd gotten in trouble for drinking and in athletics and it wasn't like I got in trouble and that was it. I was my third strike.
That's right.
And at the
I had forgotten about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time, like I obviously had no grasp on you know the fact. I mean, because you me and that was one of the things I think that drew me to you specifically. In football was that I could see the same kind of passion and intensity and all that. So um, but when you're a high school kid, especially in a small Texas town, football is like your entire world. So at the time I didn't put two and two together that hey this thing that I'm obviously doing more than other people my age just completely took everything that the thing that meant the most to me, it took it away from me. I wasn't able to antiquate that at that age. But I mean I was able because if I got in trouble again, I was done for good. So, I mean, the rest of my high school, or well, up until I think football was over my senior year, I didn't drink a drop. I didn't try to push the envelope or nothing like that. But I started out, especially after high school, partying on the weekends, um, and then it just I don't really know like when it happened. I mean, like, 'cause, like me and Chad moved to New York City in 2003. I actually
Right.
turned 21 in New York City. And even then, like being, in a city where you can have anything you want 24 hours a day, I still hadn't really. Now I got drunk every time that I drank. I've never been one of those people that, oh, hey, going to the bar and having 2 or 3 beers sounds like that. That doesn't sound good. That's never sounded fun to me. So I mean, but anyway, even being there, like I hadn't developed like I don't know. I still had in my mind that, that if I drank during the week, that, that would make me an alcoholic, or, that I wasn't doing something right. And, but I would say probably around the age of, I don't know, 23 is probably when, it was, well, it's Monday night. There's football on, I got to drink. You can't watch football without drinking, and then it was just, it was a gradual thing that, like I said, I don't know an exact moment or anything like that but it just became that, alcohol was subconsciously alcohol controlled every decision that I made. I mean, what I did on Tuesday, my actions were some down the road were kind of like my walkway to what, well, Friday night, I'm getting ready for Friday night to go drink and do this, and then
So
pretty
so you
soon, I mean,
you're
because I was an everyday drinker for.
go keep going, keep going.
Oh, okay. I mean, so, and I was an everyday drinker for a good, well, I mean, up until, this past year, and which I'd tried treatment once before that, but I was an everyday drinker, and I didn't necessarily get drunk every day, but I was an everyday drinker. I just thought, I was one of those things that I thought, well, this is what I like. This is my personality. I'm a construction worker. This is what construction workers do. They get off work, they have some beers, they cut loose, and then slowly and progressively, um, I'd say, because I'd gotten a DWI in 2008, and I'd kind of told myself, well, I will never drink and drive again. Oh my God, I'm not going to do this, And then for a little while, anytime I went out and we were going to be drinking, I made sure I was riding with somebody, or that I at least had access to a ride home. And then I had gotten a second DWI in 2015. And I would probably say that was right around the time, probably about 6 months before I'd gotten that DWI was really when the progressiveness of alcohol really like completely took over my life. I mean, I didn't draw until I went to treatment in the end of 2016. I didn't draw a sober breath. I mean, now at that time, it hadn't gotten to where I was having to drink in the morning, before work or anything like that. But I mean, I was having physical problems. I mean, I'd had to been hospitalized. I was in the hospital for about 5 or 6 days because of alcohol. My body was completely dehydrated. A lot of my organs weren't functioning right and all that. And, and then, my parents thought, well, that maybe that'll scare him. I mean, it was within a week. I mean, I was back to doing what I was doing. I went to treatment, and I think I stayed sober for about 60 days, but like 54 of them were in a treatment facility. And then as soon as I started drinking again, a lot of people think that when they get a little bit of time being sober, that, you know, that they get to, when they start drinking again, that they start fresh. And that's not my case. You know, it started right where I left off. I mean, it actually, you know, it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. You know, I was living by myself, and, you know, and I kept to myself quite a bit. And you know, a lot of people also don't really, you know, I've shared I don't have a problem sharing my story with people. You know, I mean, they're about the last 6 months before I went to treatment this last time. You know, I was, every other morning I was throwing up blood. I mean, I would bleed from my nose. Um, you know, I had to get up at like, I had to be at work at 6 o'clock. And so I'd get up, excuse me, I'd get up about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would start drinking because my body had to have it. You know, I got to that point where, you know, because a lot of people think that alcoholics or addicts, you know, they do it just because they like it. You know, it's fun, you know, and my body, it had gotten to the point where, you know, alcohol controlled everything that I did. I mean, like, whenever I was able to hold down food was when alcohol let me. Um, Whenever I could go to sleep at night was when I could pass out. Um, I mean, it controlled everything, and it got to where I physically had to have alcohol, or else, I mean, my body would start shutting down. And I mean, I used to, and I tell people this story because, you know, there towards the end, you know, I wasn't really showering a whole lot. I wasn't taking care of myself very much, and you know, I had a toothbrush that sat on my bathroom sink that I brushed my teeth with about once a week. But the toothbrush was really, I would, when I'd get up in the morning, I'd be, anybody, there's anybody who's watching or listening right now who's ever been through, you know, alcohol withdrawals or anything like that, will know what I'm talking about. But that feeling of, you know, of having to have alcohol, and, you know, and so that toothbrush actually was what I would use to gag myself every morning to get that sickness out of me, so that I could start drinking. And I mean, and that was my life every day. It didn't matter where I was at. It didn't matter if I was, you know, staying at a friend's house or staying with my family, you know, and they might not have known it, but I mean, I had alcohol in my possession. I mean, 24 hours a day.
Damn, man. Thank you for your honesty in sharing with us, sharing with me, dude. How does it feel going there, back to that moment with that toothbrush, when you think about it now?
It honestly, it makes me grateful. You know, I mean, and you'll always hear, you know, people in recovery use that term because it really, I mean, being reminded of stuff like that, you know, because, you know, every once in a while, you know, I won't lie, you know, I mean, I'll have fleeting thought of, man, it sure, there's a OU game coming on Saturday. It sure
Yeah.
would be good to go to the bar and drink some beer and watch, you know, and then I, you know, I get fleeting thoughts like that, but it's memories like that where I'm able to, like, play the tape in my head, and I can look past that instant gratification. Like, well, what's going to happen once I do that? Then what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's a big part of what recovery has been for me, is being able to think past that instant gratification.
And okay, so to get there, to get to that point, you know, you have to build up some sort of, you know, strength, you know, to get to that. So when I don't, when he or she doesn't have that strength or belief that they can do that, what are the steps? You know, like, if I'm sitting there, and for me, my main thing has been food, you know, and realizing, like, dude, Simeon, you don't need to eat that fifth piece of cake before you go to bed tonight, you know, but or like you're saying, you know, I really just appreciate your honesty. I know it's one day at a time, but I get it, man. Even when there's times like for myself, when I've been lean and I've been feeling good, and I know I shouldn't go ahead and eat that cake, but then I do, and I think I'm strong enough now, right? You know, like I can do it. I can eat 5 pounds of cake tonight, or maybe I can drink a case of beer tonight, and I'll be good.
Yeah, that is one of the common misconceptions of about sobriety is anybody who is a true alcoholic or addict. It's I'm trying to think how to say this. My self control got me to where I was at. My self propulsion got me exactly where I was at. There wasn't, I had a thing where I was always blaming all my external circumstances for what was really going on. You know what? Well, if I would have gotten this, then I wouldn't have been pissed off about that. Or, if so and so hadn't have done this to me, I wouldn't be feeling this way. It was just a chain reaction of the blame game. And but I mean, as far as that initial step, I mean, I honestly have to say, and that it was by by God, a power greater than me. And I'll blitz through this story real quick. Because I know that a lot of people when they talk about stuff, like they rely a lot on, well, this is a coincidence. I started to realize that I don't believe in coincidence anymore. There right before I went and got treatment this last time, same thing. I was going to missing a lot of work. Finding every excuse I could, to call into work because I physically knew that I couldn't make it all day, without having a drink, and I'd already taken a leave from work a few years before to go to get to treatment. And so and I knew that I knew that like that there was no way that like I said, I could feel my body shutting down. I knew that I wasn't going to make it much longer doing what I was doing, but I couldn't. I kept because that's what we do. With God, oh God, if you can just do this, then I'll do this. As if He needs to bargain with us. If you do this for me, then I promise I'll do this. But I just kept praying like, God, if I could get like fired from my job, or if I could get laid off or something, then I could go get help again, and it wouldn't be so shameful or like that I was a failure. And and one day, I had woken up, I had woke up, cold sweats, throwing up. This is about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was just pacing around my apartment. I was like, I'm not gonna drink. I'm just gonna let this pass. I'm just gonna, and then it got so intense to where I physically had to, and I went to, the fridge and I just started, and then it got to where I got a little too intoxicated to go to work that day. But and I'd messaged, the guy I was working with, and I'd said, hey man, I think I'm gonna go to the hospital. Something's wrong with me, which I knew it was wrong with me, but I was trying to cover my ass,
Yeah.
And I said, something's not right with me. I just don't feel good. And I said, I'm just burnt out on everything, and he actually messaged me back like a couple hours later saying, hey, would you want to take a voluntary layoff? We're kind of getting slow. So if you want to take a layoff, and right when I got that message, I remember I was sitting in the parking lot of Market Street, or well, one of the haircut places by Market Street, but I was sitting there and I was finishing my beer before I went inside. And when I got that text message, I like the feeling that ran over my body. It can't be described. But even right then, it was like this immediate, like weight had just completely like left, had just left my body. And I was on the phone within the next 5 minutes, and I'd called my mom and said, hey, I need you to call, I need you to call Red River. I need you to call I needed you to get me, I need to get this fixed, and I thought I'd been hiding it kind of well, but everybody knew, people that were real close to me knew. But and it took me. They couldn't get me in for a couple of days, so even though that immediate weight went away, my body for those couple of days still physically had to have what it had to have, and but no, I mean that it was the grace of God that that got me, that gave me that leap of faith, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yeah. Tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like you want to say the word God, but you feel like if you say it, there's going to be like some weird judgment on you. Do you feel that, like, you at all? Or some misunderstanding?
No, I don't. Not judgment. Yeah. I just don't want people to misunderstand. Like I said earlier, like misconstrue. Like whenever I say God, like
Yeah.
that it's like I'm, like it's some kind of religious thing. Like it's not for me. It's just there.
It's like a direct connection into the true power that's greater than I, right?
Exactly.
And man, I think, because I've kind of felt that too, and I'm not trying to speak for you, I'm just speaking for myself, that there has been a lot of organized religion that has damaged the word of God,
Yeah.
And so I appreciate, I don't know, I appreciate you saying God, and there's God is everything, and man is flawed, and man is tried to define the undefinable many times in a way that benefits them. And there's a lot of us who have been harmed by man's branding and enforcing their version of God on us, when sometimes whatever. Man, okay, so here we are, where you went back to so you went into rehab. How long this last time, how long was the rehab when you were there?
I was just there for your standard 28 days.
Okay.
Because and the first time that I went, it really was kind of I guess you could kind of say it was, I needed like a break from life. I needed like a vacation.
Yes.
My father passed away. Before I went to treatment the first time, my father had passed away about 5 or 6 months before that, and it had just, everything had just stockpiling and stockpiling. So I went into treatment the first time with the mentality of, okay, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna learn some stuff, I'm gonna learn some tricks of the trade, that are gonna, that whenever when I start drinking again, what the ways to control my drinking or moderate it, or whatever it is. And the second time, it was just it wasn't that I went in there with like, oh, I just want my life to be better. Like I went in there with the mentality of, I want my life to be completely different.
Amen. Amen.
I wasn't looking for any improvements on what I was doing, because what I was doing wasn't worth a damn. I wanted something completely different, which means that I had to go in there completely humble and 100% open-minded, with 100% open-mindedness.
Yeah.
So and I was one of those people that I went through a big spurt where I was mad at God. God wasn't giving me a fair shake at life, and I went in there with, I'm gonna yeah, it's like and it's like on hang on, it's like on White Men Can't Jump. That's one of my favorite movies ever. Whenever Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, they get in the car, and he's playing Jimi Hendrix, and then and he's like, I like to listen to this, and that's what Wesley Snipes. Well, that's the problem. You listen to it, you're not hearing it. So when I went in the second time, I was ready to hear.
Yes.
So
Man, so that takes me to here we are. Here I am, and I'm a flawed individual. I'm recovering. I'm on my path. I'm trying to do my best. Talk about forgiving and accepting ourselves, yourself, myself, where we were, and allowing ourselves, loving ourselves enough to accept what it was and understand that I'm more than what I was. I'm better. I'm bigger. I have more to offer to life than my past.
Yeah. Well,
how do you get to that point? Like if you just, like, so here I am, whatever my addiction is, and I say, well, I'm not worth a damn, like I'm not worth, because all I am is this big pile of addiction that I've known, so speak on that, whatever comes to your mind.
Well, this was brought up earlier, I had so much hatred for myself. Even when I was younger, growing up, I mean, I know people, they looked at me as if, like maybe like my life was perfect, or that, that I had everything that I wanted, or that, that I was someone to maybe look up to, I guess, if that makes sense. But I mean, deep down inside, I hated myself. I was afraid of like things that I really liked, or things that or the way that I really felt about things, that if I really told somebody that they'd be like, huh, no way, I don't want anything to do with you. And when I was really, really young, and this popped back up in my mind today. When I was really young, I'd say probably like 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. I would get dropped off at this babysitter, and she would she was an older woman, and she would beat me with this plastic sword, and sometimes she would she would come into the bathroom whenever I wasn't clothed, and she would beat me with this sword over and over again, until one day my mom had actually walked in and saw. But at that early age, I think I kind of developed this this mentality of, hey, mom and dad ain't gonna always be here to protect you. They're not gonna always be here to give you the answer. They're not gonna always be around to save you. So at a young age, I started having that mentality of, which, I mean, not that I didn't ever listen to my parents, or that I thought my parents were stupid or anything like that, but I already had in my mind that if I'm going to survive, that I'm going to have to do it my way. I'm going to have to, and because, I was always in fear. Like I said, fear of people knowing who I really was, fear of me not being what people thought I was. So my first, my main, way I carried myself was a defense mechanism of, I want you to be afraid of me. Even though really, I'm afraid of what might happen if I do this or if I do that. So if I just kept people at a distance, then that could keep them from hurting me or disappointing me. So I carried a lot, and I carried a lot of hatred and anger for other people also. I mean, I deep down had real hatred for people, or things that I just didn't like, things I didn't agree with, or, I hated it, and there was no change in my mind, and, I carried around a lot of shame for that, shame, like shaming myself, because I would see other people like doing good things, and 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 I thought, that I don't have a shred of goodness in my body. All I have is hate, anger, um, and that's what fueled me a lot. A lot of my youth was my anger, my constant anger, and my motivation to make sure that I was better than everybody at something, so
Mm-hmm.
that people wouldn't really realize that I was completely insecure about myself. Um, that I hated myself, and
Mm.
and then and then whenever I got out of high school and got out of competitive sports, I didn't really have anywhere to put that, because you got to get that stuff out of you, and
Yes.
I didn't have that outlet to get it out. So and then here we are, and then
Yep.
it took me, you know,
Mm.
15 years of still trying to do life my way, and that, well, I've got the willpower to do anything that I want to do.
Mm.
But when you tackle, something like alcohol or drugs, it's not about willpower anymore. Like I said, it completely takes over your mind and your body. Um, but you talk about forgiving yourself and loving yourself. That
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I've still completely done that. I mean,
Okay.
it's a process. Um, and I, for the longest time, like,
Mm.
I was all about the destination and not the journey in between. And that's one of the things that I've realized, is that life ain't a destination. It's a journey and a process, and that's what this stuff. When you're dealing with recovery, it's a process. And
Amen.
I mean, and I'll and if God willing, I still, and sober in 30 years, I will still be going through a process.
There you go.
So.
Wow, man. For me, a lot of my, yeah, same. I can identify with the self-hate as a younger individual, and it blossomed for me out of trauma as a child. And for me, I had taken a lot of that that I was feeling, pushed it on towards my younger brother, who I remember as I became an adult, he moved away to San Antonio. I stayed around the Wichita Falls area for a little bit before I moved to Austin. And, it was, I had been, it had been a while since I had seen him. And then I went ahead and went down there, and, I just told him, like, man, I'm sorry for the way I was to you, and it wasn't right. But it was out of, again, pain of myself. And I just in turn handed it down to him. And by the grace of God, he and I have been able to mend, and he and I are extremely close at this time. But man, it's just, we don't know what someone is going through, we don't know until I live in someone else's shoes, until I experience it. Just like you're saying, on the outside, it may seem this guy has it all going on. He's so tough. Oh, he's mean. She's mean, but she's great. It was a saying that I had heard: hurt people hurt people, and
Mm-hmm.
while we're going through that, man, just, I'm thankful to God that both of us are here at this moment where we can have this moment, this bit of intelligence that God has given us.
Mm-hmm.
What have the 12 steps taught you?
Oh, that's a all right. Well, I mean, I won't sit and go through all the steps, but I mean, the number one, the thing is, admitting powerlessness.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and for a lot of people, that's a tough pill to swallow. Because a lot of people, well, I don't like to, I don't like to admit that I'm a failure. I don't like to admit that I'm defeated. Well, I mean, that's where where that open-mindedness comes in, is that just because I can learn how to build an airplane, let's say, that doesn't mean that I can overcome, an addiction that millions of people have lost their life to. And what the 12 steps have done for me personally has taught me to always have a perspective of myself, of what I'm doing. And when I say that, because most addicts, alcoholics, we're really concerned with what everybody else is doing. We want to criticize what you're doing. Hey, you're not doing this the way that I want you to do it. As you hear the saying, living life on life's terms. I can't control what someone else is doing. I mean, I have a hard enough time controlling what I'm doing. So what makes me think that I'm so special and so smart that I can control what someone else is doing? Making amends to people, and making going face to face and admit things that you've done. And a lot of people think that making amends means that you have to go apologize. Well, the word amends by definition is to change, to make a change. I have an amends that that I would love to be able to make up to my father, but he's not here anymore. So through trying to live the best way that I can, is kind of a living amends that I try to work on, every single day. But the number one thing that the 12 steps has given me is love and compassion for other people, being of service to other people. I like you said earlier, you're a flawed individual. We are all flawed people. I mean, but we are. And I have days where, before I go to bed at night, I'm thinking of all this stuff I got to get done the next day. Ryan's got to do this, and this, and this. And I wake up in the morning and it's like, all right, Ryan's got an agenda. Ryan's going to get this. I want to get this, and that done. I want to get this. And, those days, and then all of a sudden, because not everybody thinks that my stuff is important, as important as I do.
Yep.
And then they start to get in my way, and then I start taking those feelings we were talking about. I start taking those out on them.
Yeah.
But on days that I wake up and, I do a morning meditation and prayer and all that stuff, which I need to. I've kind of been slacking on that.
Oh yeah, because I was going to say, is that something you do ritualistically?
Man, I've gotten. It's one of those things that when you're on it, you're on it, and like when you stay off of it for a day or two, it's hard to get back in. I'm slowly trying to get back into making sure that I do that every morning, but it's one of those things that when I wake up in the morning, is if I look to, how can I help somebody today? How can I be of service to somebody else? And that doesn't mean, going and mowing the neighbor's grass, or maybe it is, but just not always putting myself before other people.
Yeah.
On days that I wake up and I wake up with that goal in mind, I'm a lot happier. I don't snap at people as much. And I've come to find out that those other things that, that I want for myself, or these goals that I have, that when I'm actually focusing on helping other people, that those goals that I have actually kind of start working out on the back end. They kind of start falling in line naturally.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Totally, dude. And it's just, I know I'm laughing because I know exactly what you're saying, man. It's like, but that's God. That is the supernatural connection that we can plug into. In my opinion, agree or disagree, that's not come sit down in whatever. I'm not even going to defend it. I believe that's God. That's the connection to something higher than me, humbling myself and saying, man, I'm going to put myself to the side. And then there's this magic that happens that says, okay, man, I'm going to hook you up with a little bit of peace. I'm going to hook you up with a job. I'm going to hook you up with food. I'm going to hook you up with not throwing up in the morning. I'm going to hook you up with a willpower or the ability to say no to that drink, that drug, that sugar, that carb, whatever that thing is, you know? Oh man. After we hang up, I'm going to take
it's not a coincidence.
It isn't, man. Talk on that. Keep going. I kind of stole it from you, but I love that.
No, it's not a coincidence. You know, I mean, coincidence means coinciding incidents. You know, and if I'm doing something on a daily basis, you know, like let's just say like drinking, for example, you know, when I was getting up and, you know, banging down natural light at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, the fact that I got drunk or the fact that I got out and put people in danger, that wasn't those two incidents didn't coincide with each other. That was a direct result of what I was doing. You know, and a big part of recovery is being rigorously honest with yourself. It's not feeding yourself, you know, feeding yourself what you want to hear. You know, that's the importance when you talk about 12-step programs is having a sponsor, is because I've come across people that have said, well, I've been working on this. I'm on step whatever. Oh, who's your sponsor? Oh, well, I don't have one. I've been doing one by on my own. If you're doing something, if you're taking a personal inventory of yourself by yourself, who is going to call you on your bullshit? You know what I mean? Because I'm one of those people that if you give me an inch, I'm going to take 200 miles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've got to have somebody that keeps me in check, in perspective. But
what? Okay,
yeah,
talk.
man,
Let's talk about the sponsor. I know that, or that's a big part of the 12-step program, right? Is there a certain step that says get a sponsor? Is that a step number?
No. There's no step in that says, you know, get a sponsor. It's a suggestion. Which you know, because we as addicts and alcoholics, we don't like to be told what to do. We're the rulers of the universe, and how dare you tell me what to do? So it's a suggestion, but I don't really know how to describe it. It's like having someone that you have told everything to, that maybe you're the only person that knows about it in the entire world. You know, it's having and then that person, and it's obviously it's someone who's been through the steps before, you know, but for me, you know, I mean, I like to think that I'm somewhat intelligent guy. I don't, you know, and you know, I had without trying to break any kind of rules or anything, you know, there was a specific book, you know, and I can read a book and I can understand, you know, sentences and all that, but I had to have a sponsor sit down and read this book with me for me to actually understand it, you know, because I was actually I was going through it with someone who was sitting in the exact same spot that I'd sat in.
There you go.
You know, and I was able to learn from their actions. If that makes
great.
sense.
Yes, learn from their actions. I like that.
Because we don't like to do anything unless we see results, right? So, you know, if someone's just walking around telling me about how great, you know, sobriety or anything is, you know, you telling me doesn't really do much for me. I've got to see it, you know, and for me, that's a part of what, you know, working with a sponsor is being able to see the results.
So how long It's one day at a time. I was going to say, how long has it been? But honestly, as I love you tremendously and I love myself, and I'm like, I know you're on it, and to me, the number doesn't matter. It's like you're here. It's today. I don't know. Maybe do you celebrate the number of days? Is that something to celebrate? And I'm not asking jadedly. I'm just genuinely curious. Is that something, or is it, man? I thought about making a new calendar for myself, and every day said today. Today is today. Today is today. Today is today. Today is today.
Oh, it's different for everybody. I mean,
Okay.
for me personally, I mean, I actually couldn't even, I don't think really give you like a day count. Now, I mean, I've been sober since February 15th of 2019. And but in 12-step programs, they celebrate months with chips, and then after
Yeah.
that it's by the year. But it's not really something that is on my brain. Every day when I wake up, I don't wake up and be like 462, 463.
Okay.
And because part of the program is the obsession to drink, my compulsion, as an alcoholic to drink. And I don't know really, I don't know when it happened, but like that obsession to where my brain is always thinking about it left. So I don't wake up every morning thinking about alcohol or what do I got to do to stay away from alcohol today. I mean, I live a pretty normal life. I mean, I go to meetings, when I can, whenever I first got out of treatment, I was at, I didn't have my job back yet. But I mean, I was at, when I didn't have my job, I was at a meeting 3 times a day. And then I still was, after, I'd say after about 6 months, I was still going at least 5 days a week. And then, it's like anything else, man. We kind of start to maybe pat ourselves on the back a little bit, and we kind of start to let up. But the program's all about maintaining your spiritual fitness.
Dude, I love that.
There are days that there are days that I'll wake up and I mean it's the day's trashed from the get-go because I refuse to, open my mind. I refuse to look at other people's perspective. And there's days where it's like, I don't care what's going on today. I have to go to a meeting and I have to hear other people, and I have to share also, but it's maintaining a spiritual fitness is kind of is for me is the key. Because if I get, like I said earlier, if I get off path a little bit, I'm gonna start running. So
yeah. Damn, dude. Yeah. I again, thank you for your honesty, your willingness to share so openly. Well, I'm going to jump into the chat room. We got a lot of people in here that have been commenting.
Oh, and cool. I can't see it. So
okay. Man, we got right in here Jimmy Raider. He says it's 620 days, Ryan. So that's awesome. We got Kevin Park. He's in there. He's talking about accountability. Joe Sanchez. He's talking about, let me get that instant gratification, man. How about that? Instant gratification. We can relate to that. We got Paul Schultz. He's in there saying, Ryan, I love hearing this new version of you. Alex Nixon is saying, you guys are helping more people than you know right now just by talking about it. Honored to know both of you. We got Crimson says, I applaud you both for your honesty and transparency. Very thoughtful and sincere. Ryan, your story is very powerful. Thank you for sharing. Brittany, great stuff. Brian Beck says, great job, Ryan. Keep staying after it. Joni Rena, proud of you, Ryan. So, man, you've got a lot of people just right here. Chad Wright's giving you all kinds of thumbs up. Jackson Huff says the GOAT. Justin Terry, Huff. So yeah, Kevin's really excited that Steady Focused is back. So yeah, thank all you guys who are out there in the chat who've been listening, tuning in. Thank you guys so much. This is our very first episode back. This is episode 85 of Steady Focused, and what an honor to have this first version of Steady Focused live to be such a real, true, honest conversation with Ryan as we've just sat down and talked. So guys, if there's anybody in the chat, you guys want to ask any specific questions for Ryan, go ahead. I think we're kind of getting sort of close to wrapping up, but if anyone has any thoughts or questions they want to touch on, I'd love to hear from you guys. And Ryan, I'm just going to hit you with kind of any last thoughts, anything that's on your mind you want to talk about or speak about.
I don't know, I guess kind of just maybe I don't know, I guess suggestion, if there's somebody out there who is struggling with an addiction, like I said, I've never done any drugs. I mean, I used to smoke some weed, but I've never was a drug person, so I can't really relate to drugs, but with alcohol, because alcohol is such a socially acceptable thing. It's everywhere you go. With alcohol, you don't have to, meet somebody in a back alley to get, a case of beer. You can just go to the Walmart or Stripes, wherever you want to go. So, I know it's hard to admit, hey, I have a problem. That was one of the things that I struggled with too for a long time was, man, I'm a smart guy. I work hard. I try to do the best that I can, but my life is being controlled by this little, 12-ounce bottle. Like my entire life is right inside here. And every time I finish it, it's empty, and so there are people out there who have gone through the exact same thing that that I went through, that somebody else may be going through, that are there to help any way they can. For me, a lot of times, I hear people saying, you're doing so good or so proud of you. I don't have anything that I have without other people. The only way that I've gotten to where I am right now is only because that I've had people who I might not even really know on a personal level, but that love and care about me, that have supported me. And so if you're out there and you're struggling, like there is a way out. I mean, it's one of the things that is talked about is it's called the jumping off point. It's where you get to a point in your life where you cannot imagine what your life would be like without, your drug of choice. But you also at the same time, you don't know, that there's no way that your life that you can keep going on with it. It's like that double-edged sword, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. But there is a way out, and there's a part in this book that are my instructions for living. It's a 12-step book, and it says in there, and like I said, there's so many good sayings and stories and information in this book. But this one, really hit home for me, and that it was that it says, so if I can say this right, the difference between a normal person and an alcoholic is that normal people change their behaviors to meet their goals, and alcoholics or addicts change their goals to meet their behavior. And that was my story. That was my life in a nutshell. I had all these big things that I had this big grand life that I'd planned for myself. I was going to be this and I was going to do all that. And, you know, I was willing to settle for less than that to keep living the way I was living, you know? So I don't know. I mean, it's, I guess that's kind of the main thing is, you know, because I know what it's like to feel the walls closing in and that you got nowhere else to go, you know, because there was a point in my life where I wanted to kill myself, you know, but I didn't have the balls to do it, you know. Um, and I knew that I was going to drink myself to death. It just wasn't going to happen fast enough. Um, and you know, like how that story I told you earlier, you know, by the grace of God, I got that text message saying, "Hey, if you want to take a layoff, you know." So there is life after, you know, our past. You know, my life today, you know, if you would have asked me whenever I was a senior in high school, what are you going to be when you grow up? You know, all these things I said I was going to do. I want to be a rock star. I want to be all these things. Though my life has changed so much that like those things, all the while I'm still a big music fan, like music is a huge part of my life. Like that, those aren't goals that I have for myself. You know, I used to look at my father. I always thought he was like I would say boring person, but he just worked and he went to church and he tried, you know, and I always thought to myself, I don't want to be like that when I grow up. I don't want to be boring. You know, I don't want my life to be mundane and normal. And and it come to find out through getting sober and working, you know, a program that that I was living that exciting life. But it wasn't meant for me. You know, I mean, I was able to find out really early. It wasn't about me finding out who I was. It was about finding out who I wasn't. What I'm really not. You know, this person. But you know, through lots of reflection and stuff like that, you know, I was able to realize that you know that my father was um, he was passionate about um, he was passionate about helping other people, you know, and I've come to find out that that's what I'm passionate about. You know, I love being my own boss. I love all that stuff, and I'm passionate about working and being motivated. But that really allows me the freedom to help others whenever I can. Um, so I don't know, man. You know, it's funny how life works out sometimes. You know, you think that you don't want something or that you do want something specifically and what you want isn't it isn't what you it isn't what you really want. It ain't what you need in your life. You know, today, you know, I thought that not being out partying all the time or chasing after this or chasing after that made that my life was boring. And I'll tell you what, man, my life is as full as it needs to be right now. You know, my life is anything but boring. I always have something going on. I'm surrounded with people that care about me. I have, of course, I can't say perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. I have the family that was made perfectly for me.
Amen. Amen.
And no, I mean, like I say, is, you know, if you're struggling, don't give up. You know, don't give up hope. You know, that's one of the things I heard is if I wake up one morning and I don't have any hope, then you know, I might be lost, you know, but I have hope today. I have freedom. Like I get to wake up every morning and I get to make a choice of what I'm gonna do, you know, or how I'm gonna look at things. I have a choice, and before, you know, I didn't have a choice. Um, and today, man, I have a life that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
Man. Can everybody out there and to myself and just anyone that's watching, can we please give this man a round of applause? Come on. If you're at your house right now or wherever, come on. Man. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop at the time. And how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book. But won't you help to sing? Right here is what you're saying. These songs of freedom, 'cause all I ever had, redemption songs. Amen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. Ryan, thank you so much for your honesty. Guys, this was live. This was streamed live. It's going to be on Facebook later on. It's going to be on the Steady Focus Facebook. I'll share it out to mine personal, Simeon Hendrix. I'm sure Ryan will send it out to his. Yeah. It's also going to be up on steadyfocused.com/85. And you can find it on YouTube. So we got everyone's giving you a round of applause in the chat room. Paul, Kevin, Jimmy, Michael, Kevin.
Hey, Simeon.
Yes.
Hey, Simeon, if there's something I can read real quick, it's kind of it's one of the things that it's something that I refer to very, very often. And it's just something that hits home for me. And it's just something that I, want to share. It's a poem, and it's called Do Good Anyway. It says, people are often unreasonable, illogical, self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, some could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and your God. It was never between you between you and them anyway. So it's one of the most powerful things that I've ever read, and it's simple, and it's what I try to do every day.
Amen. Wow. Guys, anybody that's out there, if you have gotten any value out of this whatsoever, if this has touched you in any way whatsoever, please share this with somebody so we can just keep the conversation going. This was just a conversation, open conversation between friends, men who are walking the path of life. We're just two guys. We're just two dudes. As my dad always told me, and I like to say, I'm just a straw dog walking along a dirt road. I'm just a leaf floating down the road, amplifying, turning on this megaphone to share it out. So please, guys, if this has been valuable, if you have learned anything, if you have thought anything, hit us with the comments and share this out. Share this with somebody, So we're just gonna keep going. Ryan, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you letting me come do this. It means a lot to me, dude.
Whew. Thank you, guys. We got Faith says she loves you, Ryan. My man Jeffrey says, my man Jimmy says, my man, carry the message. We do recover. Patrick Moulton says, great job, fellas. Brittany gives us high fives. You said something that I wrote down. There is life after our past. I'm going to go hug the kids. So thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. And guys,
thank you, Ben.
Yeah. Until next time, I'm your host. I'm your number one, Mr. Simeon Hendrix. Give a huge, huge, steady focus, gratitude, clap, whatever fist in the air to Ryan. We appreciate you, Ryan. Until next time, gratitude always wins.